In a small village in Nigeria, 16-year-old Aisha lived with her father, Babajide, and her younger brother, Tunde. They had always been a happy family, but lately, things had changed. Babajide had borrowed money from many people, and now he could not pay them back. Their home felt heavy with worry. One sunny afternoon, Aisha sat under a big mango tree, her mind racing. Suddenly, an idea popped into her head. "I will go to Chief Abiola," she exclaimed. Chief Abiola was a rich man in the village. He was known for being kind, but also a bit foolish when it came to business. The next day, Aisha dressed in her best clothes and made her way to Chief Abiola's grand house. The house was large and beautiful, with colorful flowers all around. She knocked on the door, her heart beating fast. The next day, Aisha dressed in her best clothes and made her way to Chief Abiola's grand house. The house was large and beautiful, with colorful flowers all around. She knocked on the door, her heart beating fast. The door opened and there stood Chief Abiola, smiling wide. "Ah, a visitor. Welcome," he said, his voice warm and cheerful. "What brings you here, my dear?" "Good afternoon, Chief Abiola," Aisha said, bowing her head slightly. "My name is Aisha. I am a distant relative from the north. My family is in trouble because of debts, and I have come to seek your help." Aisha took a deep breath. "In my family, we have a tradition. To save ourselves from trouble, we arrange marriages with wealthy men. I believe if you help me find a good suitor, it will bring fortune back to my family." "Marry you? But you are so young," Chief Abiola exclaimed, scratching his head. "Who do you think would want to marry you?" Chief Abiola's eyes widened with interest. "Oh dear, I cannot let family suffer. What do you need, my child?" As they talked, Aisha learned more about Chief Abiola. He had once been very rich, but now he was losing money because of his bad business deals. Aisha felt a little sorry for him, but she kept her thoughts to herself. She needed his help. Aisha spent the whole afternoon with Chief Abiola, listening to his stories and laughing at his jokes. She was careful to keep her plan a secret. She didn't want him to know that she was only pretending to be a relative. By the end of the day, Aisha felt hopeful. When Aisha reached home, she found Babajide looking sad. "What did you do today, my daughter?" he asked. "I went to visit a friend," Aisha replied, hiding her excitement. "Don't worry, Baba. Everything will be fine." But deep inside, Aisha knew her plan was just beginning. She had to be careful. What if Chief Abiola found out the truth? And what other secrets were hiding in his life? As she lay in bed that night, Aisha closed her eyes and whispered, "I will save my family, no matter what." The next morning, Aisha woke up with a mix of excitement and nerves. She was eager to see Chief Abiola again, hoping he had good news about finding a suitor. After breakfast, she rushed through her chores, all the while thinking of the plan. As she finished washing the dishes, Aisha heard a loud knock at the door. Her heart raced. Could it be Chief Abiola already, she wondered. She ran to open the door, and to her surprise, there stood a tall, well-dressed man with a big smile. "Good morning, I am Segun, Chief Abiola's assistant," he said politely. "The chief has invited you to his house today for lunch. He wants to discuss your future plans." Aisha could hardly believe her ears. "Lunch at Chief Abiola's? Yes, of course. Thank you, Segun," she exclaimed, trying to keep her voice steady. Segun smiled and said, "Great, please, come with me." Aisha quickly changed into a pretty dress and hurried out the door, her heart racing with excitement. When they arrived at Chief Abiola's house, it was even more magnificent than she remembered. The garden was filled with colorful birds, singing sweetly, and the smell of delicious food wafted through the air. Inside, Chief Abiola was waiting for her, seated at a large table. "Welcome, Aisha. I am so glad you could come," he said, waving her to sit beside him. The table was set with an array of tasty dishes: jollof rice, grilled chicken, and spicy pepper soup. As they ate, Aisha carefully watched Chief Abiola. He seemed friendly and warm-hearted, but there was something about him that made her curious. "Chief, how did you become so rich?" she asked, wanting to learn more. "Oh, my dear Aisha," he laughed. "In my youth, I was clever in business, but I trusted the wrong people. Now, I have lost much of my wealth because of bad investments." Aisha felt a pang of sadness for him. "But you are still so kind to help others," she said, hoping to cheer him up. "Ah, kindness is what keeps me going," Chief Abiola said, his eyes sparkling. "Now tell me more about your family's tradition. How can we find a suitable suitor for you?" Aisha took a deep breath, knowing she needed to be clever with her words. "In my family, we believe that the best suitors are wise and strong. They should also have a good heart." "Leave it to me," he declared. "I know many wealthy men. I will host a gathering this weekend and invite them. You will meet them, and we will see who is the best fit." Aisha's heart soared. "Thank you, Chief Abiola. That would be wonderful." After lunch, Chief Abiola showed her around his house. They walked through the garden, and he shared stories of his childhood. Aisha listened, fascinated, but her mind was still on her plan. As they strolled, Aisha noticed a small door at the back of the garden. It looked old and slightly open. Her curiosity got the better of her. "Chief, what is that door?" she asked, pointing. "Ah, that door leads to my old workshop," he replied with a chuckle. "I used to build things there. But it's a mess now, I don't go in anymore." Aisha's eyes sparkled with interest. As they entered the workshop, Aisha was amazed by the clutter. Old tools and unfinished projects were scattered everywhere. Aisha looked around, her mind racing with ideas. While she explored, Chief Abiola began telling stories of his dreams and ambitions. Aisha listened carefully, trying to piece together the secrets he might be hiding. Suddenly she spotted a dusty old box in the corner. "What's in that box, Chief?" she asked, pointing. "Oh, that old thing?" he laughed. "Just some memories, nothing important." Aisha lifted the lid, revealing old papers and documents. As she sifted through them, she found a letter that caught her attention. It was from a business partner, warning Chief Abiola about a bad investment. Aisha's mind buzzed with thoughts. This could help her understand how to navigate her plan with Chief Abiola. Just then, Chief Abiola chuckled. "You are quite the curious one, Aisha." As the afternoon went on, Aisha realized that her plan was getting more complicated. She was beginning to like Chief Abiola, but she still needed to save her family. As she left the workshop, Aisha felt a mix of determination and worry. She was in deep, and there was no turning back now. Aisha returned home that evening, her mind racing with thoughts of Chief Abiola and the secrets she had discovered. She felt torn between her plan and her growing affection for the kind but foolish man. As she lay in bed, the letter she found in the workshop haunted her thoughts. What if Chief Abiola's financial troubles were more serious than he let on? The next morning, Aisha woke up determined to find out more. After breakfast, Aisha decided to visit her friend Fatima. Fatima was clever and always had good ideas. Maybe she can help me figure this out, Aisha thought as she walked through the village. When Aisha arrived at Fatima's house, her friend was sitting under a tree, braiding her hair. Aisha, you look worried. What's wrong? Fatima asked, noticing the frown on Aisha's face. Once outside, Aisha and Fatima hurried to the back of the house, pretending to admire the flowers. They made their way to the slightly open door and peeked inside. The room was filled with old papers and furniture covered in dust. Aisha felt a thrill of excitement. Let's look for anything that might tell us more about Chief Abiola's problems, she whispered. They began rummaging through boxes, finding more old letters and documents. Aisha carefully read through one of them. It was a contract with a business partner named Mr. Okoro. It detailed a deal that went wrong, leading to huge losses. This is bad, Aisha said, feeling a mix of fear and concern. He really is in trouble. Suddenly, they heard footsteps approaching. Panic struck them. Quick, hide, Fatima whispered. They scrambled behind an old cabinet, hearts pounding. Chief Abiola entered the room, looking stressed. Why can't I get this right? He muttered to himself, pacing back and forth. I need to fix my mistakes before it's too late. Aisha and Fatima exchanged worried glances. They listened carefully as Chief Abiola continued talking to himself. If I can just make a good investment. But who can I trust? Everyone has failed me. After a few moments he left the room, and Aisha and Fatima breathed a sigh of relief. We need to tell Babajid about this, Aisha said. He might know what to do to help Chief Abiola. As they made their way out of the house, Aisha's mind was spinning with ideas. She knew she had to act fast. Could her plan really help save her family and Chief Abiola at the same time? That evening, Aisha rushed home to share everything with her father. Baba, we need to talk. I have important information that could help us all, she said as she entered their small home. Babajid looked up, surprised. What is it, Aisha? You seem troubled. Aisha took a deep breath and explained everything, the debts, the tradition, and what she had discovered about Chief Abiola's troubles. We need to help him, Baba. If we work together, we might be able to fix his problems and save our family. Babajid listened carefully, his brow furrowed. You're right, Aisha. But we have to be cautious. Helping Chief Abiola could be risky. I know, but it's our only chance, Aisha said, determination in her voice. We can't let him lose everything. As the sun set, Aisha felt a new sense of purpose. The plan was getting bigger and more complicated, but she was ready to face whatever came next. The day of the gathering at Chief Abiola's house finally arrived. Aisha was filled with excitement and anxiety. This was her chance to meet potential suitors and gather more information about Chief Abiola's situation. Aisha spent the morning preparing, wearing her prettiest dress and tying her hair in a neat braid. I must look my best, she thought, glancing in the mirror. This is important. At noon, she arrived at Chief Abiola's house with her father, Babajide, and Fatima by her side. The garden was decorated with colorful banners and flowers, and the smell of delicious food filled the air. Chief Abiola spotted them and rushed over, his face beaming with joy. Welcome, my dear family and friends, I'm so glad you could make it. He hugged Aisha and Babajid tightly, making them both smile. Thank you for having us, Chief Abiola, Babajid said, trying to hide his own nervousness. Aisha looked around and saw that the men were quite different from one another. Some looked serious, while others were cheerful and playful. As the gathering began, Chief Abiola introduced each man to the guests. "This is Mr. Ikena, a businessman from the city," he announced, pointing to a tall man with a deep voice. "And here we have Mr. Chijioke, a farmer with a big heart." As Aisha listened to the introductions, she noticed that many of the men were eager to impress Chief Abiola. They boasted about their wealth and successes, but Aisha could see that some were more interested in gaining Chief Abiola's approval than in her. After a while, it was time for Aisha to meet the suitors. She felt her heart racing as she approached the group. "Hello everyone," she said, trying to sound confident. "Hello Aisha," they all replied, their voices cheerful. "Tell us about yourself," Mr. Ikena encouraged, stepping forward. "What do you like to do?" Aisha took a deep breath. "I enjoy helping my family in the garden and learning about our traditions," she said. She tried to stay focused, but her mind kept drifting back to Chief Abiola's troubles. After chatting with a few more men, Aisha excused herself to find Fatima. They needed to discuss their plan to help Chief Abiola. They walked to a quieter corner of the garden, away from the laughter and chatter. "Aisha, how is it going?" Fatima asked, looking concerned. "Do you think any of these men are good suitors?" "I don't know," Aisha admitted. "But I'm worried about Chief Abiola. We need to keep an eye on him and figure out how to help him before it's too late." Just then, Chief Abiola approached them with a big smile. "Ah, my beautiful relatives, how is everything going?" he asked. "It's wonderful, Chief, everyone seems very nice," Aisha replied, trying to hide her concern. As Chief Abiola walked away, Aisha turned to Fatima. "We need to keep gathering information about his finances, we can't let him make another bad investment." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A loud argument broke out among a few of the suitors near the food table. Aisha and Fatima exchanged worried glances and rushed over to see what was happening. "Who do you think you are, coming here and talking down to us?" shouted a short man with a fierce expression. He was pointing at Mr. Chijioke. "Calm down everyone," Chief Abiola stepped in, raising his hands to quiet them. "Let's not make this a scene. We are here to celebrate, not to fight." As the men settled down, Aisha noticed something strange. Mr. Chijioke was looking nervous, and there was tension in the air. Aisha wondered if this fight had anything to do with Chief Abiola's financial troubles. Later, as the sun began to set, Chief Abiola gathered everyone for dinner. He had set a beautiful table under the stars, and the food looked delicious. Aisha felt both nervous and excited. As they ate, Aisha overheard the men talking about business and investments. She leaned closer, trying to catch every word. "Did you hear about Chief Abiola's recent losses?" Mr. Ikena said quietly to another man. "He's really struggling." Aisha's heart sank. She had to do something to help him. After dinner, she decided to approach Chief Abiola. "Chief, can I speak with you for a moment?" Aisha asked, her voice shaking slightly. "Of course, my dear. What is on your mind?" he replied, leading her to a quieter corner of the garden. "I've been hearing some things about your business, Chief," Aisha began, choosing her words carefully. "I want to help you. I believe we can find a way to turn things around." Chief Abiola looked surprised. "Aisha, my dear, you are so young. What do you know about business? I may be young, but I care about you and your family. I've learned some things that might help. You've got to trust me," Aisha pleaded, her heart racing. Chief Abiola paused, looking thoughtful. "Trust is hard for me, Aisha. But I see your kindness. Maybe we can talk more about this." Just then, they heard a loud crash from the dining area. A plate had fallen, and everyone turned to see what had happened. "Everything is fine, just a little accident," Chief Abiola called out, but Aisha could sense the tension rising again. As Aisha walked back to the group, she realized that helping Chief Abiola was going to be more complicated than she thought. She needed a plan, one that would help her family and uncover the truth behind Chief Abiola's problems. The gathering continued with laughter and chatter, but Aisha felt the weight of her mission on her shoulders. She was determined to uncover the truth behind Chief Abiola's troubles and help her family at the same time. As she sat with Fatima, she knew they needed to think of a strategy. "Aisha, do you really think you can help him?" Fatima asked, looking concerned. "He seems to have a lot of problems." "I believe I can," Aisha replied firmly. "But I need to gather more information. I have a feeling there are deeper issues with Chief Abiola's business. We have to dig a little deeper." Just then, Aisha spotted Chief Abiola chatting with a group of men. He looked relaxed, but Aisha could see the hint of worry in his eyes. "Let's find out who he talks to about his investments," she whispered to Fatima. The girls watched as Chief Abiola laughed and shared stories, but Aisha noticed he kept glancing toward a man at the edge of the group. The man was dressed in expensive clothes and seemed to be listening more than talking. "Who is that?" Aisha asked Fatima, pointing discreetly. "I think that's Mr. Okoro, the man from the letter you found." "He used to be Chief Abiola's partner," Fatima said, her eyes widening. Aisha's heart raced. "Then we need to speak with him. Maybe he knows something about the bad investments." They waited until dinner was over and the guests were mingling. Aisha took a deep breath and approached Mr. Okoro, who was now standing alone, sipping his drink. "Excuse me, Mr. Okoro," Aisha said politely. "I've heard a lot about you. I would love to hear your stories." Mr. Okoro turned, surprised by her approach. "Ah, a young lady with an interest in business, how refreshing. What would you like to know?" he asked, a sly smile on his face. Aisha smiled back, trying to hide her nervousness. "I've heard about your partnership with Chief Abiola." "What was it like?" Mr. Okoro chuckled. "Ah, Chief Abiola and I had our ups and downs. He's a kind man but not the best when it comes to business. He trusted the wrong people." "Is that why he is struggling now?" Aisha pressed gently. Mr. Okoro's expression shifted slightly. "Yes, he has made some poor choices. But it's not all his fault. I warned him, but he wouldn't listen." He paused, looking thoughtful. "You should be careful who you trust, young lady. Business can be tricky." Aisha nodded, sensing that there was more to his story. "Thank you for sharing, Mr. Okoro. I hope things improve for Chief Abiola." As she walked away, Aisha felt a mix of emotions. Mr. Okoro seemed to have knowledge about the chief's troubles but also seemed to be hiding something himself. She needed to find out more about him. Later that evening, as the gathering began to wind down, Aisha found Fatima. "We need to talk to Baba Jide about Mr. Okoro. He seems suspicious," she said, her heart racing. Fatima agreed. "Let's go home and discuss it. We need to plan our next steps carefully." Once they reached home, Aisha found Baba Jide sitting outside, looking at the stars. She approached him with Fatima by her side. "Baba, we need to talk about Chief Abiola and Mr. Okoro," Aisha said urgently. Baba Jide looked concerned. "What happened, Aisha?" Aisha explained everything she learned about Mr. Okoro and the business troubles. "I think he might be involved in the bad investments. We need to find a way to help Chief Abiola before it's too late," she urged. Baba Jide listened carefully, his brow furrowed in thought. You are right, Aisha. If Mr. Okoro is involved, we need to be cautious. But how can we help Chief Abiola without revealing your true intentions? Aisha thought for a moment. What if we invite Chief Abiola and Mr. Okoro for a meeting at our house? We can create an environment where they feel comfortable discussing business. Babajide nodded. That could work, but we must be careful. If they sense anything wrong, it could ruin our plan. The next day, Aisha and her father prepared to invite Chief Abiola and Mr. Okoro over for dinner. Aisha was both excited and nervous. She hoped this meeting would help them understand the real reason behind Chief Abiola's financial troubles. When they called Chief Abiola to invite him, he was thrilled. Dinner with you? I would love that. It's been too long since we've spent time together, he said, his voice cheerful. Aisha felt a wave of relief. The plan was coming together. That evening, they set up the dining area, preparing delicious dishes that Baba Jide was known for. When Chief Abiola and Mr. Okoro arrived, they were greeted with warmth. Welcome, my friends, Aisha said, trying to make them feel at home. As they sat down to eat, Aisha observed the two men closely. Chief Abiola was friendly and chatty, while Mr. Okoro remained reserved, sipping his drink silently. As dinner went on, Aisha decided it was time to steer the conversation. Chief, I've heard you talk about your business adventures. Can you share more about how you choose your investments? She asked, hoping to open a discussion. Chief Abiola brightened. Ah, investments. Well, it's all about trust. You need to trust the people you work with. But I've learned the hard way, I must say. He looked at Mr. Okoro, who remained quiet. Aisha took a deep breath and asked, and what about partnerships? How do you know if someone is a good partner? Mr. Okoro finally spoke, his tone cool. It's all about loyalty and integrity. Unfortunately, not everyone has those qualities. Aisha exchanged worried glances with Baba Jide. This was turning into a confrontation, and she needed to redirect the conversation. Chief Abiola, what do you think makes a successful business? She asked, hoping to shift the mood. After dinner, Aisha felt the tension lingering in the air. She knew that the confrontation between Chief Abiola and Mr. Okoro was far from over. As they cleared the table, Aisha devised a plan to draw out the truth while keeping Chief Abiola unaware of any danger. Chief Abiola, let's take a walk in the garden, Aisha suggested, hoping to give him a moment to relax and gather his thoughts. Ah, what a splendid idea, Chief Abiola replied, grateful for a distraction. As they strolled through the garden, Aisha decided to address the elephant in the room. Chief, I can see that you've been worried. I care about you. And I want to help you. Chief Abiola looked down, his cheerful demeanor fading. It's true, Aisha. Things have been hard. I trusted the wrong people, and now I'm paying the price. I heard Mr. Okoro mention loyalty, Aisha said gently. Just then, Mr. Okoro joined them, a sly smile on his face. Aisha, what a lovely garden you have. But let's not forget, it's not just about the beauty outside, it's about what's happening behind the scenes. Aisha felt a chill at his words. What do you mean by that, Mr. Okoro? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Oh, just that sometimes the people you think you can trust are the ones who will let you down, he replied, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Isn't that right, Chief Abiola? Aisha's heart raced. That's not true. True friends lift each other up and help through tough times. Mr. Okoro laughed, but there was no warmth in it. That's an admirable thought, Aisha. But you'll learn that not everyone sees it that way. Chief Abiola looked at her, his eyes glimmering with hope. You're right, Aisha. I've always dreamed of starting a community project to help young people in the village. Feeling the tension rising, Aisha knew she needed to act fast. Chief Abiola, let's talk about your plans for the future. You have so much potential. You just need the right support. Yes, that's a fantastic idea, Aisha encouraged, sensing an opening. And with the right investors, you can turn that dream into reality. Mr. Okoro's face turned sour. Investors? With your current reputation? You'll be lucky if anyone wants to partner with you, he scoffed. Aisha felt her heart race. This was the moment to confront the truth. Mr. Okoro, are you really looking out for Chief Abiola, or do you have your own interests at heart? His expression hardened. How dare you question me? I was Chief Abiola's partner before you even thought of getting involved. But you were the one who led him into those bad investments, Aisha countered, her voice rising. The air grew thick with tension as Chief Abiola stepped between them, looking distressed. Enough, Aisha, I appreciate your concern, but I don't want any fighting. Just then, Babajid stepped into the garden, having overheard the conversation. What's going on here? He demanded, looking between Aisha, Chief Abiola, and Mr. Okoro. Nothing, Baba, Aisha said quickly. Just a misunderstanding. Babajid's gaze fell on Mr. Okoro. We've heard troubling things about you, Mr. Okoro. It's time for honesty. Are you truly looking out for Chief Abiola's best interests? Mr. Okoro shifted uncomfortably. Aisha stepped forward. You're only in it for yourself, aren't you? You want to keep Chief Abiola in the dark. Enough, Chief Abiola shouted, frustration evident in his voice. I've trusted you for too long, Okoro. If what Aisha says is true, it's time to end this partnership. The tension broke like a storm. Mr. Okoro's face twisted in anger, but he quickly masked it with a forced smile. You'll regret this, Chief, you'll see. With that, Mr. Okoro stormed away, leaving the group in a heavy silence. Chief Abiola looked relieved but also shaken. Thank you, Aisha, Chief Abiola said, his voice trembling. You've opened my eyes to the truth. Babajid placed a hand on Aisha's shoulder. You did well, my daughter. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight for others. As they stood in the garden under the stars, Aisha felt a sense of accomplishment. She had confronted the truth, helped Chief Abiola, and taken a stand against deception. Moral lesson. The story of Aisha teaches us that trust is essential, but it must be given wisely. It's important to stand up for what is right and to help others see the truth, even when it's difficult. In the end, true friends will support and uplift one another, ensuring that everyone can achieve their dreams. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts about Aisha's journey and what you would do in her situation. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to catch our next exciting tale. Thank you for watching, and remember, truth and friendship can light the darkest paths.